Iran's crisis is deepening, with more evidence of mass killings, expanding repression, and mounting international backlash. The European Union has labeled the Revolutionary Guard a terrorist group. Rights groups report thousands dead, and mass arrests continue under an internet blackout. What's the real state of unrest inside Iran today? Let's break it down. Iran's nationwide unrest, sparked in late December 2025 by economic hardship and quickly evolving into broader anti-government protests, has entered a critical new phase as repression intensifies at home and diplomatic tensions escalate abroad. Number 1. Rising death toll and evidence of massacre. Despite official figures that understate casualties, multiple independent rights groups and eyewitnesses paint a far grimmer picture of the human cost. According to activist sources and human rights monitors, thousands of people, possibly over 6,000, have been killed amid the crackdown, making this one of the deadliest periods of repression in Iran since 1979 revolution. In certain cities like Rasht, where protests once drew large crowds in the historic bazaar, witnesses have described scenes of chaos, crossfire, and dead civilians fleeing burning markets. Independent investigations suggest that security forces fired on crowds, resulting in significant fatalities and multiple vehicle and building fires. Human rights groups such as Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch have documented mass unlawful killings, severe injuries from live ammunition, and the near total use of force to subdue civil demonstrations. Meanwhile, Iran's security apparatus is executing a sweeping campaign of mass arrests to prevent any revival of protest movements. Reports indicate that plainclothes units and intelligence forces have detained tens of thousands of individuals, including students, doctors, human rights defenders, and even family members of activists. Many are held in unofficial, secret locations with limited access to lawyers or families. Among the latest troubling developments, medical professionals who treated wounded protesters have been arrested, and some face harsh charges, including accusations linked to Mohaddebeh, waging war against God, which can carry the death penalty under Iranian law. Activists say these arrests, often occurring during nighttime home raids, aim not just to suppress visible protest activity, but to dismantle networks of dissent throughout Iranian society. Number 3. Internet blackout and information suppression. Communication blackouts continue to be a central component of Tehran's strategy. Since early January, Iran has maintained an almost total internet shutdown across the country, drastically limiting global connectivity and restricting citizens' ability to share first-hand accounts. This prolonged and extensive outage, one of the longest and most extensive in recent history, has hindered independent verification of violence, arrests, and casualties. Rights observers argue it serves to obscure the reality on the ground, while preventing protesters from organizing and documenting abuses. Number 4. International backlash and escalating tensions. Iran's crackdown has continued to harden internationally. The European Union has officially designated Iran's paramilitary Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist organization, a move supported unanimously by EU member states. The designation imposes asset freezes, travel bans, and sanctions on nearly 247 individuals and 50 entities tied to human rights violations. Iran has sharply rejected the designation, calling it provocative and warning of heavy repercussions for Europe. Iranian officials accuse Western nations of aligning too closely with U.S. policy, framing the sanctions as efforts to undermine Iranian sovereignty and resilience. Meanwhile, the involvement of Western military forces in the region has stirred further tensions. The U.S. deployment of an aircraft carrier strike group and associated forces near the Persian Gulf has been described as a deterrent, even as Tehran warns that any military intervention would meet swift and severe retaliation. Number 5. Broader regional and domestic impacts. The current crisis has implications beyond Iran's internal politics, with the Strait of Hormuz, a vital global energy corridor, drawing heightened military attention and diplomatic friction intensifying between Tehran and Western capitals. Fears of a wider conflict have grown. Domestically, many Iranians are coping with economic strain fueled by inflation and continued restrictions, while families of detainees and victims struggle in the face of limited transparency.
Even in areas where street protests have diminished due to repression, small-scale resistance, symbolic acts of defiance, and local grievances persist. Analysts warn that without structural change or accountability for abuses, Iran may find itself locked in a cycle of periodic unrest and repression, further destabilizing not just its own society but the region as a whole. In summary, Iran's ongoing crisis is rapidly evolving into a complex mix of internal repression, international confrontation, and profound human suffering. With rising death tolls, mass arrests, internet blackouts, and global sanctions, including the designation of the IRGC as a terrorist organization, the situation remains one of the most consequential geopolitical flashpoints today. As the world watches closely, what happens next could reshape not only Iran's future, but broader regional stability and global diplomatic alignments. Stay informed because developments in Iran have consequences far beyond its borders.